What's up, YouTube? This is True Raw for TV. And first of all, I want to give a shout out to Greg for his donation to the channel. All right. I'm glad you found my videos entertaining, Greg. I'm glad you're a supporter of mine, and I will try to always be as entertaining as I can be, while also trying to deliver a message. And to anyone else that want to donate to my channel, you can do so in the links provided in the description box below. And I said this in my prior video, but I want to mention this again. I will be creating a Patreon account soon. Probably by this weekend, I will have a Patreon page open, and I will have some content there available already. The Patreon will have content on there that I cannot really put on YouTube. It'll be more of me living up to the True Raw for TV moniker. And if you missed the old ranting Big Mike, that will be on that one. And for a very, very cheap fee of $2 a month. $2 a month. I mean, what is that? Like, what is that? Like 2 bags of what you call them junks? Sour worms or some shit. 2 bags of sour worms. Whole month. Can't beat that. Now, let me talk about Kobe Bryant for a second. Now, I know I got a reputation for being a guy that hated Kobe Bryant. Of course, I didn't. But I want to talk about his career for a second. I watched his entire career, and I believe he was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets, but he was soon traded to the Lakers in exchange for Vlade Divac. At the time, as hard as it is to believe now, that was not a popular trade by Laker fans. Vlade Divac was, in essence, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's replacement when Kareem retired in 1989. And Vlade was a very popular player. And, of course, Vlade would go on to have his greatest success with the Sacramento Kings. And, of course, I believe Vlade Divac today is in the front office with the Kings organization. Kobe Bryant he was very raw. You got to remember, he was only 17 years old when he was drafted. And he was best remembered in his rookie year for his sensational slam dunk performance. Of course, he won the slam dunk contest when he was only 18 years old back in February of 1997. And I believe it was his rookie year where he led the NBA in points per minutes played. He only averaged, I think, 7.6 points per game, but he didn't play many minutes, and he was playing behind Eddie Jones. Because at this particular time, Eddie Jones was just a better player at that time. Kobe was still raw, but he showed flashes of what he was capable of even back then. And that's when Kobe had the bald head and all that, and swag. And, it's funny because at this particular time back in 1997, the next Jordan comparisons were primarily made up of Grant Hill and Anthony Penny Hardaway. Of course, those two were going to have fragmented careers, especially Penny Hardaway. Penny Hardaway should be in the Hall of Fame. It's tragic what happened to his career. The next year, though, for Kobe Bryant, that's when he started growing out the afro and the goatee, became his own man. And Kobe Bryant had recovered from an incident that happened in the playoffs the year prior that would have ruined the confidence of anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Would have ruined their confidence completely. I believe there was a playoff game. It might have been the elimination game for the Lakers versus the Utah Jazz that year, when Kobe Bryant shot, I believe it was 4 air balls in a row. And, one shot like that could ruin the confidence of a player. Kobe shot 4 air balls. Because you got to remember, Kobe's game really wasn't all that polished yet. But by the next year, 98, Kobe Bryant was an all-star. And And I remember him nailing long threes in an All-Star game. He held his own against Michael Jordan in an All-Star game. And increasingly, the Lakers and Eddie Jones knew that his time with the organization was going to come to a close. All right. Soon afterward, Eddie Jones was traded. Kobe Bryant became the starting shooting guard. And while the Lakers with Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, Rick Fox, Robert Ory, a young uh, Derek Fisher, they were a talented team, but they just didn't know. They didn't quite know how to win yet. You know what I mean? And they kept getting their asses kicked by the Utah Jazz and then the San Antonio Spurs with a young Tim Duncan. But in comes Phil Jackson. And then Phil Jackson, of course, his great tenure with the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan, who had just retired, and Scotty and those guys. In comes Phil Jackson, and he shows the Lakers exactly what it takes to go to that next level and become a championship level team. It's not just the physical. It's just not having more skills. It's just not being the most physically gifted. It takes a lot of the mental aspect of it as well, the psychological aspect of what makes a champion. And he infused this to guys like Shaquille O'Neal, even Kobe Bryant. And could Kobe Bryant be a little bit too competitive to the point where he hurts his teammates? Yeah. People forget that about Kobe Bryant, that before he started winning titles, there were times when Kobe was a little bit too, let me show everybody what I can do. Kobe Bryant was able to, how can I say this? He was able to hold that back, yield that back a little bit, and become a better teammate. While at the same time, he was beginning to blossom as an NBA player. And the Lakers were going to three-peat. And they're the last team to three-peat. And at the present rate that we're in, they may be the last team to three-peat in a very long time, because even if the Golden State Warriors were not able to do that, they probably would have had not been for injuries. But if the Golden State Warriors haven't been able to do that, I don't see another team who's going to do it. But by 2002, Kobe Bryant was no longer willing to just be a sidekick to Shaquille O'Neal. He wanted to be the man. And this became a bit of a struggle. And we all know about the media covering the Kobe Shaq feud, which I think was somewhat overblown. The 2002-2003 season, to me, was Kobe's all-around best season, statistically. He had seasons where he averaged more points, of course, but that year he averaged 30 points. I think he averaged about 7 rebounds, I think about 6 assists, 2 steals. All right, over 2 steals. And for him, he shot a healthy field goal percentage for him. I think it was like 46% or something like that. Great all-around season. That's the same year where Shaq missed a string of games, and I think there's a stretch of games where Kobe had 9 consecutive 40-point games. And he talks about that. He talked about it recently, where he could have easily have pushed that streak further, but he chose not to. To take the focus off him and put the focus back on the team, and also to sort of appease to Shaq's ego. But ultimately, this struggle between who would be the top dog began to fester over, and it did hurt the team. And I think it did contribute to the 2004 Lakers loss to the Detroit Pistons. I mean, it did play a factor. By that time, the Lakers, like I said in prior videos, Lakers were playing more outside in than inside out. And something had to be done. And the Lakers organization decided to go with the 25-year-old superstar who was just entering his prime, rather than hanging on to the 32-year-old aging center. So out was Shaquille O'Neal. Now the team was truly Kobe Bryant's. And for a couple of years, they struggled. the Lakers. Kobe had a really down 2004-2005 season, really down by his standards. And a lot of that had to do, of course, with the event that probably was the most traumatic in Kobe's life, that false rape allegation. And we all know it was false. And I got so pissed off at the fuck she, he, or whatever the hell they want to call themselves movement for even trying to bring that crap up. And this had to weigh on Kobe's mind, psychologically, whether or not he was going to go to prison for something he didn't do. And eventually that matter moved along, but it did affect his level of play, I believe, during the 2004-2005 season. He had a really down year by his standards. 2005-2006 season, Kobe Bryant comes back and has what I think should have been an MVP caliber season. He averages 35.4 points per game during that season, including a historic 81-point game against Jalen Rose and the Toronto Raptors. Also, he had the 62.3 quarters game, which came the month prior, December 2005, against the Dallas Mavericks. In fact, at one point in that game, Kobe Bryant had single-handedly outscored the Dallas Mavericks 62-61. He was an absolute pure scoring machine during that season, and he took a team, I think, which was probably the least talented roster in the history of the Lakers organization. He carried that team on his back to a 45-win season and to the playoffs. And I think he should have won the MVP that year. But I think politics played a role in that. The next year, Kobe Bryant wins his second scoring title, and he has a string of 4 consecutive, I believe, 50-point games toward the end of the season and 10 individual 50-point games during the season. But this individual brilliance was not coinciding with, of course, team victory or team success. And there was a brief period of time when Kobe Bryant was requesting a trade during a period of frustration. But the Lakers organization heard him and they looked out. Or maybe Jerry West looked out. Jerry West was with the Memphis Grizzlies organization, but of course Jerry would always have ties with the Lakers and pretty much gave them Pau Gasol. Then Metta World Peace came over. And then you had also with the Lakers the developing Andrew Bynum, who should have been a Hall of Fame caliber player had he taken basketball more seriously. But anyway, the Lakers were back in the finals in 2008, but with an injured Andrew Bynum, who was not there, the Lakers weren't able to defeat a focused Celtic team which won in 6 games. However, in 2009 and 2010, a fully strength Los Angeles Lakers team was able to beat, actually easily, mind you, an Orlando Magic team in 2009, and they were able to just edge out a focused and determined Boston team in 7 games to win their 16th and to date last championship and Kobe's 5th, and it truly cemented him as one of the all-time great legends. Now, afterward, Kobe Bryant would essentially be playing more or less for, I'm not saying just for numbers. Of course, he wanted to win more championships, but I say after 2012, the championship window was totally shut on him. But, of course, he still wanted to win. But he was a competitor. He still wanted to play more. And ultimately, he was hoping to have just one more crack at the championship, but it never came. But he tried. But after his Achilles injury, I think that was in 2014, I think it was. Someone can correct me when that was. But after his Achilles injury, he wasn't the same player. And it was painful to watch him. As painful as it was for me to sometimes watch Michael Jordan during the Wizard years, seeing a guy who was at one time a Superman become totally human, at times very mortal. With Kobe, it was strange watching him sometimes get outplayed, by opposition that couldn't even hold his jockstrap just 4 years prior. Um, it was really terrible, and I'll be honest with you, it got to the point where I really wish that he had retired 2 years earlier. Now he did have that 60-point game toward the end of the last game of his career. He did have the 60-point game, but that to me was more of a tribute to him. It was a gift to Kobe to make him look like Kobe. The team force fed him the ball, and it was a great fitting epilogue to a great career. And nowadays, you see how the NBA is now, and you see how the league, the media fawn over a guy who, in my opinion, couldn't hold Jerry West's jockstrap, let alone Kobe Bryant's. I just don't. I don't know. You really do miss a guy like Kobe Bryant now. You really do. You miss a guy who played to compete, a guy who wasn't out there just to be friends with everybody, a guy who wanted to beat everybody and came at everybody and thinks he's the best player of all time. With that type of competitiveness, we'll see we won't see the likes of Kobe Bryant ever again. You know, while I am a big Michael Jordan fan, I do think that he's the greatest. I think that you know it just makes me think of that line about Biggie from Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? If I ain't better than Biggs, I'm second best. Well, that's what Kobe Bryant. Like, if Kobe Bryant ain't better than MJ, he's second best. So, with that said, that's it.